Ladies and gentlemen, there is a unhealthy obsession that Democrats have with General Michael Flynn. There's this fantasy, this myth surrounding Michael Flynn among Democrats that somehow, some way, his conversations with Sergei Kislyak were the foundation of Trump working with Russia and everything bad. If anyone looks, Michael Flynn was set up and framed, but even if you don't believe that, he was only indicted. The only charge against him was allegedly lying to FBI agents. Okay, who were the agents? One of them was Peter Strzok. Peter Strzok stated, "We will stop Trump." I don't understand how, if the judge knows it's Peter Strzok, and Peter Strzok already said, "We will stop Trump," I don't understand how there's a new sentencing date. But the important thing here is, this is just a couple hours ago. Internal DOJ memo cleared Flynn of being Russian agent, but it's missing, his attorney says. Former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn's legal team charged in court Tuesday that Department of Justice cleared Flynn of being a Russian agent in a memo as far back as January 2017. But that prosecutors still haven't produced the document. Why, when Sessions was in office, the worst attorney general of all time, thank God that ridiculous nonsense is no longer with us, LMNOP, whatever. And I was at the forefront yet again of calling it right, how it was complete nonsense. But why? Well, obviously it was a message board. But why would a Sessions document, Jeff Sessions, remember the person that everyone was supposed to trust? Jeff Sessions, the person that Trump mocks and denigrates and insults at every chance he gets, as he should. Former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn's legal team charged in court Tuesday that the Department of Justice cleared Flynn of being a Russian agent in a memo as far back as January 2017, but that prosecutors still haven't produced the document. William Barr, relatively recent, like around February or so of this year, 2019, 2017, it was when it was all going down, and Rod Rosenstein would eventually start the special counsel under the wonderful Jeff Sessions, who recused himself like the cowardly little lion or little elf that he is. Where was this information? Why was it withheld? Why did the Sessions Justice Department withhold this information? The claim came as Flynn's lawyers said in a status conference in a Washington, D.C. courthouse that they are now seeking to have the case against him thrown out, according to the prosecution, accusing the prosecution of egregious conduct and suppression of possibly exculpatory evidence. Now, Andrew Weissman is known in the Enron case of hiding exculpatory evidence. But I'm not sure that, no. He was that was the Mueller special counsel, also started, of course, under Sessions. But here, quote, "We've learned that there was a letter dated January 30th, 2017, or an internal memo from the Department of Justice that completely exonerates Mr. Flynn of being an agent of Russia, and that document has not been produced yet." So this accusation was used against Flynn to highlight all the smoke. Well, if there was smoke, then there has to have been like some kind of issue with Flynn. He could have been a Russian agent. He could have been this and that. And so that's one of the reasons he deceived FBI agents. Andrew McCabe had a criminal investigation into Sessions for his conversations with Sergei Kislyak, because Sessions, under oath, Al Franken, no longer there, tried to paint him as, well, did you speak to Sergei Kislyak about anything election related? And then Sessions said, no, I didn't. And then what happened was there was a conversation in passing with Sergei Kislyak, and they said, well, you committed perjury. Meanwhile, Clapper and Brennan actually did commit perjury. This is, like, documented. And we have Andrew McCabe, who's going to be indicted any day now. Every day in the morning, I'm typing in Andrew McCabe. He's going to be indicted any day now, but Andrew McCabe set up both Jeff Sessions to ensure that Sessions would recuse himself and stay recused. And Andrew McCabe called up, and this is Paul Sperry and Tom Fitton, and other people have talked about this, Sarah Carter, called up the White House, Michael Flynn, hey, we have a couple of agents speaking with you. You don't need your legal team, no representation. Just meet with us. And he did. Michael Flynn also knew that his conversation was being recorded. He also knew that he was speaking to FBI agents. He had no reason to lie. That's how when you have these disgruntled buffoons who were like, oh yeah, so many indictments, these were process crimes. If you just say lying to FBI agent, that's not a charge linked to any criminal act. If Andrew McCabe is lying under oath because his wife received hundreds of thousands of dollars from Terry McAuliffe, and because of that, he had to say that, well, that Comey allowed him to leak information when in reality, or who knows, Comey didn't allow him to leak information, but the reason he leaked information about the Clinton Foundation probe was to make it seem that he was tougher on the Clintons than he really was. How come all of these probes against the Clintons, there are no process crimes? How come you get, and there was actually in the Clinton email investigation, there was a documented, people had lied to FBI agents, but they let it slide. So you're a stickler for just the process when it's the special counsel, but so that was just all public relations. And I was right about that also. In the beginning of the special counsel, I said, look, when the Steele dossier first came out, I said, this complete utter nonsense. When the special counsel started, I said, nothing's going to take place. President Trump is not going to be removed from office, and if anything, he's going to be exonerated. And I was right. And then they say, well, he wasn't exonerated because there was obstruction. It's like, are you kidding me? They're not even going after him on obstruction. They can't, because the whole thing's fabricated and set up. You can't obstruct justice in a fabricated investigation. Then they say, well, the Russians interfere in the election. The Russians did not interfere in the election. That is something that has to be, I'll explain that, that's pretty obvious. But here, let's just continue. Powell continued, so they had a lot of information they didn't disclose. They also have knowledge of a letter from the British Embassy that completely discredits Christopher Steele's dossier and undoes the whole dossier debacle. Wow. But responding to Powell's concerns in a court Tuesday, a government lawyer said they were irrelevant, noting they did not accuse Flynn of being a Russian agent in the first place, according to the transcript. Doesn't matter. That was part of setting Flynn up. The government is not alleging any filings in this court or before the court that the defendant is an agent of Russia. That is not part of the case, although the media and the hysteria surrounding all of this made Flynn into this Russian agent. And of course that was part of the case. This is not part of the act that he pled guilty to. It was lying to the FBI about particular communications involving Russia, not being an agent of Russia. See, prosecutor Brandon Van Grack said, no, wrong. This entire hysteria revolved around Flynn possibly working with Russia. Their whole mentality was Flynn's going to flip and sing because he really is part of some wide-ranging conspiratorial event. But we just don't know yet, so we had to start a special counsel. Flynn's indictment was the beginning was a precursor to the entire special counsel thing. So that's why I say President Trump should never have let him go. If you give an inch with people, they take a mile. If you give the Democrats a finger, they'll take your whole arm. That's why I'm telling you, Clinton is running again. Why do you think President Trump tweeted about Clinton again and the fact that he defeated her even though one of the polls said, well, she would defeat him by 15 points or whatever. Then they say, oh my God, he didn't say that right before the election. It's like, no, there were polls months before, or several weeks before, that said she would defeat him, by a wide margin. Anyway, the thing regarding Flynn was this. They set him up and they framed him. They set him up and they framed him. And how do I explain this? I wrote in the Federalist that President Trump should pardon Michael Flynn because there was no Trump-Russia collusion. The reason that he should pardon Michael Flynn, especially if, heaven forbid, that Michael Flynn gets some kind of sentencing where there's jail time or something, prison time or something. There was never any Russia collusion. The whole thing was complete and utter nonsense. The media and Democrats latched onto it because they're authoritarian. If they care about what you say on social media, they don't care about, civil liberties or endless militancy, or unelected officials fabricating grandiose stories to ensure that a political party, in this case, the Democratic Party, with egg on its face, completely mortified, to ensure that a political party, and Clinton in this case, circumvent any repercussions from losing an election where they outspent Trump 2-1, $1.2 billion to $600 million. They had to save face. She's still running again. Again, don't think of this rationally. This is completely irrational, all of it. You can't think of things in a rational manner that are completely irrational. But anyway, Clinton is going to run again. She has until early February. Anyway, they needed to fabricate and set up a story. Michael Flynn was the first. There was the Steele dossier, yes, but they needed an indictment to start this. They needed somebody. The first big not resignation, but the first big person to leave President Trump's White House was Michael Flynn. They forced him out because Sessions was forced to recuse himself, because Andrew McCabe went after Sessions and threatened Sessions. So then they got then they got Flynn. They forced him out of the White House under this fabricated nonsense that he lied to FBI agents. When the government attorney says, well, he only was indicted for lying to an FBI agent. He wasn't indicted for being a Russian agent. The underlying theme, even on Twitter, if Trump were to pardon Flynn tomorrow, the rebuttal would be, oh my God, look at his ties to Russia. He sat with Jill Stein and Putin at an RT network function. The hysteria was that he could have been at that moment, even today, but at that moment it was like exponentially worse. The hysteria was that he possibly could have been some kind of huge or important cog in this entire mess. He somehow helped Trump hack the DNC and somehow has something. Oh, he was in the Steele dossier. And he somehow is linked to all of this. We just have to get him to flip and sing. Then they got Manafort. We just have to get him to flip and sing. Then they set up Papadopoulos. We just have to get him to flip and sing. Then Michael Cohen started spouting nonsense, none of which sticked to Trump. But the whole point was they treated everyone around President Trump in a manner they did not treat. Cheryl Mills her attorneys, Brian Pagliano was set up her servers, everyone. No one was squeezed to flip and sing. No one was set up without a lawyer to speak to FBI agents who had it in for them. This was a public relations stunt that they got away with, utilizing the United States government to defraud the people of the United States. Michael Flynn never had anything to do with Trump-Russia collusion. He was in the Steele dossier. It was embarrassing. They wanted to embarrass Trump. His national security, it should be Flynn. He should hire Flynn tomorrow. Because then he got McMaster, then he got Bolton, and he got establishment hawkish types. McMaster was more of an establishment type, and then Bolton was just a hawkish militant type. And the person that he really wanted was Flynn. So you should hire Flynn tomorrow, actually. He should pardon Flynn, hire him tomorrow, and then just watch the Democratic Party implode from outrage. But they needed to... The first person they needed to hurt was Michael Flynn. That was the first person they needed to hurt. Because that was the first person they tried to frame as, a possible Russian operative. We just have to find out more information, so we got to start the special counsel. This was 18 U.S. Code 371. I explained in the Federalist. They should be charged. The article is in every description section of every one of my segments. They should be charged for perpetuating this conspiratorial event that aimed to defraud the United States of America. The Russians never interfered in the election. There's no evidence. And then you always get this, well, there's no evidence to suggest. Where is the evidence to suggest that the Kremlin ordered Facebook ads? You mean to tell me Mark Zuckerberg was talking to the Kremlin? I think not. Are you kidding me? Washington was like embracing his rear end when he came there. Are you kidding me? So the Kremlin purchased Facebook ads and Facebook and the Facebook CEO gets away scot-free? Are you kidding? Where's the evidence? Where's the note? Where's the handwritten note from Putin saying, I'm so afraid of Clinton because she opposed the sale of 20% of U.S. uranium capacity? Are you kidding me? There's nothing like that because it doesn't exist. The Russians aren't afraid of Clinton. They were never afraid of Democrats. Nobody has ever stated a rational defense of why, or a rational argument of why Putin would be afraid of Clinton. 20% of U.S. uranium capacity was approved under President Obama's administration. Was it sold by Clinton? No. Snopes, relax. She was on the Committee on Foreign Investment. Cash flowed to the Clinton Foundation amid Russian uranium deal. What they're guilty of, they always project and accuse others of. The Russians are fine with the Democrats. They were... The notion that because of Clinton and Max Boot and Bill Kristol, because they talk a big game, they did nothing. When Russia invaded Ukraine, they did nothing. When Russia invaded Georgia with Bush or Obama, they did nothing. President Obama didn't even want to really retaliate in terms of after this alleged Russian interference or the hacking of the DNC. So there's zero reason. Look, yellow cake uranium shipped out of the country while Robert Mueller was... This is in the New York Times. The Democrats always say, oh yeah, everything against Clinton is conspiratorial. It's like, no, it's actually read the New York Times. Cash flow to Clinton Foundation amid Russian uranium deal. Why would they care about Democrats in office? Putin knows Bill Clinton since Bill Clinton, since his first term in office. Bill Clinton met Putin in 2010 at Putin's home in Moscow. Then he got a $500,000 speaking gig at a Moscow investment bank. I mean, then you have William D. Campbell, who stated that Russian lobbyists were bragging about their influence over the Clinton Foundation and President Obama's administration. Are you kidding me? They have successfully deceived tens of millions of people into thinking that Russia is now a big threat. Election interference is the dumbest euphemism. They interfered to show embarrassing emails? No, they never use correct terminology. That's why they have to redefine words. And it's so ridiculous too because we know what they're doing. The DNC emails showed that Bernie Sanders was cheated. Bernie Sanders is a human doormat. He likes it. Oh, I was cheated. I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. May I have another? Thank you, ma'am. May I have yet another? And give one to Tulsi, too. Don't think I'm ever gonna represent. That's not what I do. I just talk about the 1%. And then I slither back into my little wonderful fantasy cave. And then slither out and say, I'm talking about the 1%. Clapper, Brennan, can I get you a coffee? Can I get you a cup of coffee, Comey? Can I shine your beautiful high-heeled shoes, Madam Secretary? What can I do to help you? What can I do after you cheated me? Can I foment the belief that Russia interfered in the election to force Debbie Wasserman Schultz to resign in disgrace? What else can I do to help you fight the 1%? And now you have, AOC. So congrats. You've done nothing. You've actually, they've expedited the downfall and demise of their political party, which is fantastic. And the final, when Clinton runs, and she will, we will all see what happened to Flynn. They set up Papadopoulos. What happened to all of these people was for Clinton 2020. This was the insurance policy that Peter Strzok talked about. They caught these people red-handed. They caught them. You already know what Strzok was saying, and then they're still going after Michael Flynn now. The United States government needs to reimburse Michael Flynn for everything they put him through, especially financially. But give me your thoughts below. This happened under Sessions' watch, and the Sessions Justice Department withheld information. And this is absolutely absurd. Flynn needs to be either pardoned or the case needs to be thrown out, because you already have the FBI agent who questioned Flynn was already fired from the FBI and the Mueller probe for anti-Trump bias. So how is that not? That alone should have ended the Flynn case and thrown it out of court. Give me your thoughts below. Thank you so very, very much. They needed, when the government says, well, Flynn was never indicted for being a Russian operative anyway. No. That information that would have shown that Flynn had nothing to do with any alleged Russia collusion would have helped him immeasurably in court, because it would have shown the judge, hey, he didn't have a motive or incentive to lie. He didn't lie, and any alleged motive is non-existent, because he had nothing to do with any possible or absurd Russia collusion narrative. And again, how many voters in swing states saw Facebook ads because she won the popular vote? How does a foreign country interfere in the election when the person who lost wins the popular vote? She won the popular vote only because she outspent Trump 2-1. But try finding a pollster, or a pundit saying that Clinton would lose because of Russian interference. There was none. How do they say something happened when there's no evidence at real time, or if you look back, there's no evidence of anyone talking about the impact of embarrassing emails? They never interfered. They have not explained how Russia interfered in terms of vote count in swing states today, and they never talked about it right before the election. They were the hubris and the ego and all of them they were riding high. They knew they were going to win, and they were so happy, and they were giddy, and they were just prancing around, so confident of themselves, and then completely mortified. That's one of the main reasons they had to try to paint Flynn, who wasn't, as this Russian operative. Give me your thoughts below. Check out H.A. Goodman's other channel right now. Thank you. That's below in the pinned comment.